need some peace, some serenity, if you need some balance in your life, because right now, before we went live with Chris, I was just talking to Chris. I was like, Chris, Chris is in the city. He's in the heart of Manhattan. And I'm like, dude, how are you doing in quarantine? And now you wake up, you got riots all around. At this point, folks, we're waiting for the Martians to invade. At this point, Chris and I are ready for the alien invasion to kick it all off. And I'll tell you right now, guys, if you need that peace and serenity, you got to stay calm. You can't get into a stressed out disease state. So without further ado, Chris from The Protocol is here. His website and links are in the description box. So Chris, welcome back, man. You are the holistic gangster. You are the Jedi of Zen. So welcome back, man. Where do you want to begin with this? Because so many people are stressed out. I've gotten so many emails saying, hey, when are you going to get Chris back on? Dude, now's the time. We're locked in, can't go nowhere, rioting everywhere in 140 some odd cities across the country. All sorts of hidden agendas being worked. And in the middle of this, the only thing you can control, folks, is yourself, your health, and your mental well-being. So Chris Bohlin, welcome back, sir.
Thank you, V. Well said, my friend. It's interesting because you forgot the zombie apocalypse, but
that's the next thing. That's after the alien invasion. So whoever the aliens don't get, the zombies will be there to pick us off.
Yeah, but if you look around close enough, they're probably lingering amidst us as well.
They're updating their Instagram accounts. That's what it is. They're playing World of Warcraft. They don't know there's a rioting, and they don't know that rioting is occurring, and that the country's been under quarantine lockdown for the last 70 some odd days. So once the World of Warcraft wears off and they emerge from their mother's basement, that's when the apocalypse begins.
Right. I mean, listen, the bottom line is that it's a crazy time, and it's a crazy world. It's like what can happen will happen, and that's one of the beauties of life is that there is so much opportunity. There are so many lanes of potential, and for a life and for a world where it seems like we lack a lot of control over things outside of ourselves, we can get into try to internalize what's going on around us, and I don't mean internalize it by suppressing it. I mean internalize it by taking full responsibility in every way, shape, or form. Because listen, I'm here to talk about something that I feel I have a lot of experience with, and it gives me a certain expertise. But I'm no expert on mental health, and I think that's where it all starts. Is clean up your own front porch or your own backyard, and you want to change the world, you got to change yourself, and it's an inside job, and we all need to look at ourselves first before we start casting dispersions elsewhere, and have a lot of empathy. I mean, this is it's become more mainstream to be a little bit more Zen or a little bit more holistic or be a little bit more spiritual, whatever that might mean. I know I certainly don't claim to corner the market in those areas, but there is something, again, that we can do for ourselves physically. And that's where, I come in, and that's where the protocol comes in. And I'm really, grateful that you have me on, and I have this platform to share some of the discoveries that I have made about the body. And basically what I've discovered is that the modern lifestyle, the modern environment, the modern setting, the modern training, the modern mindset, lifestyle, environment, everything that basically encompasses are the moving from A to B. Everything that we do from A to B is hampered by some level of stress that is taking its toll on our physical bodies. And so that's we talk often we talk about the traditional approach and what it's like to go to the gym and do chest and tris and back and bis and and abs and legs. I mean, I can remember, and we've been through the history. I can remember that one workout we forgot to talk about last time was the Bulgarian workout. If you remember that one, it was going 3 times a day. Right. I go to the gym in the morning, go to the gym in the afternoon, and then go to the gym in the evening. And we had gyms in the.
That is right. Little do we know, Chris, that we were not juiced to the gills Bulgarian powerlifters from the Olympics back in the 80s when we're all on D-ball.
Right. Sestanon 250.
Exactly. I will go to gym. I will lift weight.
I mean, listen, I'm 46 years old. And I was a gym rat, and a kind of a blue collar guy, and from this suburban town, and other than getting into bar fights, I was basically a gym rat, and I became a trainer. It was the next logical progression. So. And I, flirted with the creatines and the ephedrins and the Beyond Rips, and my heart was beating out of my chest when I was, leg pressing 7 plates. And I even trained, I had a lot of clients, and I knew a lot of people, had a lot of friends, and I actually trained with a Russian Olympic powerlifter who was in the Olympics, and his name was Konstantin, and he would warm up with 405, and he would basically touch his ass to the ground. And so, listen, I've experimented with anabolic steroids myself. I played semi-professional football. Again, I was a Guido from Rockland County, and I couldn't even touch my own shoulders. My biceps were so big. And,
back when we were younger and we're made of rubber and magic.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know what I was made of, but between the heavy dips and the heavy pull-ups and all the back extensions, and that was it was just common. It was that's just what we did. We didn't know any better. And we talked about how the history of weight training is like really only 70 years old. And so the heyday in the 90s, when we were just like, walking around carrying luggage, like we worked at the airport, it was, I always had this like inner instinct, what was the best way to work out, and I tried super slow-mo, and I would try, 1 rep maxes and 100 reps. And also, like you said, the Bulgarian workout.
Chris, we used to superset the super slow-mo with the 1 rep max.
Right. The supersets and oh man, the supersets. The fly.
The supersets, right?
Yeah. I mean, and how many, the mentality from the NFL combines. I mean, there was a point where I could do 225 close to 25 times,
That's significant. That's NFL combine levels.
And I, like I said, I played semi-pro football, but my joints could tolerate it at the time. And there was a time where I could clean. I was literally cleaning, not cleaning and jerking. I couldn't jerk it, but I could clean 275. And then I wasn't a trainer at that point. I was a gym rat, and I was just, it was just pure genetics, pure strength. Linear, style of training. And then it finally ran its course, the traditional style of training, the Bulgarian and the, lift as much as you can and pushing your limits style of training came to a screeching halt for me. And then that's when I started to discover some, if you will, I refer to it as innate wisdom. The physical wisdom which is really a simplistic, or a practical wisdom, and it's also an infinite wisdom. So, as I was, lifting heavy weights, and my body was just, lumping up, right? It was like that scene in Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger when they're twins, and Schwarzenegger takes his shirt off and he goes, Julius, where did you get all these lumps? And that was me. I was lumped up, I was brolic, and I was overdeveloped. Little did I know how dysfunctional the development had become. And the development mathematically, by the nature of the training, was from the outside in. And my body could only tolerate that for so long. So I realized there was a couple of factors involved. One was I was exposed to a genetic predisposition. I was born with bowed legs. So when I was a baby, the doctor put bars and braces on my legs. And from that point, I don't remember it. I was a child. And so my late teens and early 20s, when I was, blowing out, 225, 275, 315, whatever the case may be, back extensions with holding 245-pound plates and building up my erectors until they were like steel rods. And all of a sudden, and then I slowly got into the personal training world, where they started teaching you some cutting edge stuff. And they're like, integration rather than isolation. And they would teach you, neuromuscular facilitation. And then they would start to teach you about, how the connective tissue responded to certain types of stress. And then they would teach you more, again, like a balance in deeper fibers, stabilizer fibers, and how we could, integrate these periodization, and, how to, treat the cardiopulmonary system, and the resistance system, and the agility system. And it really was like, I studied it and I became good at it. But it all really didn't make all that much sense to me as a personal trainer. It was just good for me to regurgitate and sound good. And that's exactly what I did. I was kind of an automaton. And there's a lot of them out there.
This was during the whole functional training craze of the late 90s and the early aughts. We had, who we had out there? We had the guys from NASM at that time. We had, what's his name?
Santana, Tom Purvis.
Yep. Purvis, Santana. Who's the other guy? Polchak. Remember Polchak? Yep.
Exactly. And let me tell you something. Now, 20 years later, if not more, this is more than 25 years. Now that pendulum is swinging. So let me quickly get back to my story, because now they're all preaching more of a protocol-like approach.
Correct.
The protocol-like approach is a more instinctive approach. So my genetic predisposition, combined with the modern lifestyle, the modern environment, the modern training, all came to a screeching halt, and my body literally rejected it all. I couldn't lift anymore. Listen, I experimented with steroids for a very short period of time. It wasn't like I was stacking and double stacking and became a bodybuilder. But the bottom line is that I did not have the genetics. The reason why Arnold Schwarzenegger was Arnold Schwarzenegger, listen, he was like Michael Jordan. He did have a mental game. But essentially, he wasn't really training much harder than the next guy. He was just born with the manufactured raw materials that gave him that special quality, that smoothness, those dimensions. And,
hold on, Chris. What you're trying to say now, you're trying to say that I'm not got this way because of my very hard work?
Well, right, exactly. And he would walk into the gym and meet his good buddies like Columbo or
I love Franco. It was a real bromance.
Or Ferrigno, and he would
I hate him.
Or Zane or whoever it might have been, but he would say to Ferrigno, he would walk up to him and say, Lou, you looking a little pale today. You feeling okay?
It was like Ali, man. He would play mind games with these guys. It was hilarious.
And Lou was half deaf, and his father was his trainer, and he was taking hundreds of vitamins, and he didn't know which way was up. So that's a whole another discussion about genetics and stuff like that. But my body rejected it, and rejected it so much that I couldn't do anything anymore. literally couldn't lift forget about lifting. I couldn't really play sports or lift, and I couldn't really even stand on the sidewalk, V. I couldn't sit on a couch. There was some, disruption, some pain, some discomfort that at the ripe old age of 25, which is 21 years ago, things really came to a screeching halt. And then I slowly started to discover, I slowly started to stumble across, I slowly started to have these aha moments where I was able to piece things together. And what I understand and understood to this day is that there's a very straightforward understanding about the body. And then there's a less than straightforward understanding. But the pendulum has swung because what we're doing is not working. It's a double-edged sword. The reason why athletes are bigger and faster and stronger than ever before is because of the training. Correct. And the reason why the athletes injure and are, more than ever before is because of the training.
Correct.
They're paper tigers. They're overdeveloped. They're disproportionate, and their training can only be tolerated for so long. And sometimes people can tolerate it for like 40 years. It doesn't make them any more wise to this other potential. And this other potential is what I discovered. I've discovered a system that says, hey, listen, the mindset of more is better. No pain, no gain. Instant gratification, quick fixes, magic bullets, all of this stuff that we've grown to admire and respect, which I do to a certain degree, pushing yourself. But what ends up happening is that we end up pushing ourselves until we break down. And that's no fun. So the modern lifestyle and the modern environment has thrown us off, and the training has exacerbated it. So the point I'm trying to make is that what makes your body healthy, because we're here to talk about Zen, holistic, mind and body, prevention, refinement, wholeness. I mean, we're here to talk about how we can at least live in our own bodies without our bodies breaking down, so that our body can be happy, so that our body can process stress, so that our body can be healthy. I don't really know that many healthy people, and I'll tell you why. Because you can walk into a cardiologist and you can get a clean bill of health, walk out and trip over a sidewalk and die of a heart attack. Okay, and real health is deep. Real health is intrinsic, and real health is very simple. Real health is when your body weight, just your body weight, I'm 190 pounds. Now, if my 190 pounds travels through my body equally, then that is the definition of physical health.
Correct. That's the balance within the kinetic chain. People don't realize that every time you take a step on the ground, the earth responds with, I believe, about 7.2 pounds of kinetic energy per pound of your own body weight traveling up and down your spine. Any alignment that is off between your ankles, your feet, your knees, your hips, your back, your shoulders, your neck, it all gets screwed up, and that's why we're so injury prone. And this is why I love having you on, because you're one of the few people out there that really zero in on this misalignment. This is so far beyond what's being talked about anywhere else. Chris, go ahead.
So thank you very much. So what happens is the body in all of its glory is perfect, and it should never cease to function properly, ever. There's no reason in this God-given world that your body should break down. Nothing in, again, the body has all the tools. Everything, you're equipped with everything. It just needs to be in its proper place. And when it is, there shouldn't be a problem. Now, obviously, we're talking in varying degrees, because what the protocol does, because we have collected so much damage and trauma, and we've neglected so many parts of our body, that what the protocol does is it reverse engineers this trauma and this damage. And so when energy is flowing properly, now listen, you can get another guy on here and talk about alignment and flowing energy, but I'm breaking it down and painting a picture for you, saying that, listen, every single thing that you do in life, If you want the body to function properly, everything needs to be equally distributed, left to right, front to back, top and bottom. Now, just the simple fact that we live in the modern world means that that's not happening well. And if you have a slight discomfort in your shoulder or a slight discomfort in your elbow, and I train a lot of people who are dealing with chronic situations after many, many years. And so that's the straightforward part. The straightforward part is that everything, even as I'm sitting here and talking to you, if I slouch, if my jawline, my eyeballs, the ear canals, my sinuses, my thyroid, my throat, my esophagus, my tonality, everything needs to be equal and level. Now that's in my shoulder blades, my acromion process, but everything needs to, there's a certain circumduction, there's a certain rhythm that everything needs to comply to. But because of the shoes and the technology and the pavement and being babied or doing this or that, everything's been through. We inherited it. It's really not our fault. Our consciousness, our physical consciousness has been dumbed down. And so the protocol is a system that understands this and encapsulates a system that can reverse it. So the less than straightforward approach is how you connect those dots on an individual basis, meaning that the future of training is a personal technology that you can literally heal yourself and redefine what that actually is, because it's the opposite of a quick fix. You can only align yourself with these forces, and slowly you can get quick relief, but it's a lifetime and a lifestyle. It's a practice. It's no different than yoga was for India. It's an ancient practice, yoga.
Correct.
For India. And it's no different than Tai Chi was for China. Again, thousands of years ago, another ancient practice. We do not have a modern day practice that across the board can create intrinsic health foundationally that we can build on and add to. And that's what the protocol is. So I'm teaching people to understand and get in touch and interpret their feelings. How do you feel? I feel tension in my hip. Okay, well, we can guide you so that you feel less tension in your hip and less tension in the hip until you don't have any tension in your hip anymore. We will chase it down until we eradicate it. And that's what will allow the body to gradually shift and align itself so that balance is an alignment and integration and centeredness and continuity and integrity as a whole is reestablished. And that process requires you to connect the dots. So here's the ultimate differentiator. How you feel is different than how I feel. And infinitum. 8 billion people feel differently. Now here's the key. Each moment that passes, I feel even more differently than I did a minute ago. So the problem is that if you go to the library, V, and you get a book on the anatomy, there's only one book, the anatomy.
Correct.
But we need something that acknowledges the anatomy, and we need something that equally acknowledges how everybody feels and how it's always changing. And the protocol is that system. I introduce you to your body on a deep and extensive level so that we can balance and align. And you can get anyone else on here to talk about balance and alignment. They're not going to talk about the internal and the depth of your nature and getting every component to start to shift properly so that they're either at least asymptomatic and then they can live freer. And so I hope that at least paints a picture, because most people who are preaching a protocol-like effect, it's very loosely interpreted, and they're giving false hope. We can give you something real so that you can gain a new perspective on taking back control of your physical, fate and destiny, if you will, because otherwise it's at the whim of chance. It's at the whim of the modern world. You succumb to the lack thereof. We need to treat our physical health, and we all are just kind of lost when it comes to that. It's an anomaly if someone lives a long life. And everybody should live a long life. Now, people that live a long life, they're either patched up by drugs and it's extended. But you can stand equally on your own 2 feet till you're 140 years of age. I'm sure of it. And I'm not going to wait that long to be successful and help people. I can promise you that. I've already done plenty, and it's quite a wonderful thing. This movement is going to happen, and we'd love to have as many people on board as possible.
Very well said, my friend. Chris, how can people contact you? If you want to go ahead and give your contact information, your social media, how they can follow you. And you do offer remote sessions. I mean, you're training people all around the world from all sorts of time zones. It doesn't matter. Technology has bridged the gap. So go ahead, Chris.
Well, that's the beautiful, listen, that is the one silver lining with the pandemic for myself, which has been that a new business model has been thrusted upon me. And I've been doing more Zoom and FaceTime sessions than ever before. I'm training people all over the country and all over the world, for that matter. And so it's no better time than ever to take a trial session. We will give you a complimentary session. We will introduce you to some of these qualities about your body and see what we can do, and see if it's for you. Because you know what? It's not for everybody, because not everybody really wants to change. Not everybody is open-minded. Not everybody can wrap their head around taking one small step at a time. And so you can easily, reach out to me. You can call me, okay? I sometimes think it's a little strange because, listen, I am offering myself, okay, to people who does this strike a chord? Does it resonate with you? And if it does, this is my platform. This is my mission, and V has allowed me to help share it to other people. So if you are interested, the message is here. It's consistent, and we can help. So please don't be afraid or shy to call me at 646-204-7979. My Instagram, which
give that number out one more time, Chris.
Phone number is 646-204-7979. My Instagram, which is a place where I, display and I post stories about, basically me doing it in Central Park and giving little, a dialogue behind it, some content, some good stuff. And I also, so that is Protocol. If you can see here, fitness, at Protocol Fitness, one word. So Instagram at Protocol Fitness. And my email, feel free to email me at the.protocol.cb for Chris Bohlin at gmail.com. CB, CB at gmail.com. And then finally, the website is protocol fitness.com. Protocol fitness.com. And let's get the ball rolling and get your the process underway for your physical health. Take control of it. We can do it together.
Absolutely. And, the world's going crazy. You need to keep a level head. You need to keep focused. You need to keep calm. This will pass. I estimate by the next week, this whole riding thing will be behind us, and things will start returning back to normal. And lots of exciting things are around the corner. So if you don't have a clear mind, go ahead, buddy.
Chance, let me just say one more thing.
Go for it.
Oh, sorry. Being empathetic. Listen, I'm not here to talk about psychology. I'm not here to talk about spirituality. I'm not here to talk about your emotions. And I'm not really here to talk about your diet. Okay, I'm here to talk about your body. And we can rewire the body to be more nurturing and empathetic to yourself, so that we're not seeking outside of the body and perpetuating and exacerbating compulsive behaviors and extremes. So when the fight or flight comes upon, you have to have a sense of physical peace. And that's also a good place that can, listen, I go to therapy, and I seek other help for those parts of my body, and I have a good idea how to eat. So we think, we eat, and we move. Let me help you with the moving part. It's really an amazing thing.
And movement is the most important thing. Without movement, it doesn't matter what your workout program is. If your movement, if your joints, if your ligaments, if your muscles are not working, aligned, and firing properly, it don't matter what workout program you do. It will fail you eventually. You might adapt to it for the short term, but in the long term, it is not sustainable.
Right.
Let Chris help you.
Sustainable, key. And what are the three? Think about this. What are the three things that your muscles do? They produce force, they metabolize fat, and they detoxify impurities. But when your body movements have been thrown off for many years, it doesn't do that very well.
Correct.
So, so much takes place and so much happens when your body starts to move well. You start to burn fat, you start to produce force, you start to detoxify impurities, and it's quite a wonderful thing when you're empowered with those tools and that mindset and that knowledge and that practice and routine for your daily life.
Very well said. Chris Bohlin, Protocol Fitness. Folks, go check him out. Reach out to Chris. Help him. Help yourself by helping him. What I'm saying is, let him help you, is what I'm trying to say. Jeez Louise. Too much coffee. And change your lives, folks. Change your life, change your mind, change your outlook. And with that being said, I want to thank all of you for joining us, and have a great week. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, V.